exhausted under the weight of his hazmat suits. He's wearing layers and layers of them. This is a demonstration from a Chinese citizen, all the way in New York City's Times Square. A metaphor for the suffocating zero-COVID policy many feel in Xi Jinping's China. It's to mark the ongoing Communist Party Congress, where Xi is expected to secure his unprecedented third term.
There are so many repressed emotion during these 2 or 3 years. I vent my emotion out.
But in China, shows of defiance are swiftly censored. Just a week before in Beijing, 2 big banners attacking China's supreme leader and his COVID policies were hung on a busy overpass. One of them reads, "Say no to COVID test, yes to food, no to lockdown, yes to freedom." The other banner reads, "Remove dictator and national traitor Xi Jinping." People involved in the demonstration could be jailed or even worse. China's draconian zero-COVID policies have descended millions of lives into chaos. Fights with COVID enforcers, screams for freedom from locked apartments, protests for food and supplies. During a snap lockdown in an airport in southern China, security even held guns near travelers. Entire cities are still being locked down over a handful of COVID cases. This woman yelling out in frustration that she's been in isolation for 6 months already, but the images of pain erased from China's internet.
It's just a general inhumane policy where people are being forced and hurted and their dignity is being taken away.
We are not revealing this resident's identity because of fears of retribution for criticizing the government. So why is Xi Jinping sticking to zero COVID?
Because Xi Jinping can never be seen to have made a mistake. Constantly, we have the party propaganda machinery churning out narrative that, in fact, the zero COVID is protecting lives in China.
Beijing claims there would be a disastrous healthcare scenario, like the million-plus COVID deaths in America, if China didn't have its zero COVID policy. The pandemic is also Beijing's perfect chance to upgrade its surveillance technologies, including mandatory smartphone health apps that track the daily movements of virtually all 1.4 billion people. Yet many in China have adapted to the new normal, with regular COVID tests and rolling lockdowns. But back in New York, this Chinese artist is doing what he can to remind the world that while they've moved on from COVID, millions in China are still suffering under the weight of lockdowns and repression. Selena Wang, CNN, Hong Kong.